Okay guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. All right guys, I'm back. It's Monday, August 3rd already. I don't know how that happened, but we're 3 days into August already. So we're going to look at the news tonight, and I'm hoping to do 2 videos if all goes well. And last night I had, if you saw my note there, sometimes I leave a note on my channel to let you know what's going on. And last night, so strange, because I had started recording and I looked around and I thought something doesn't look right. And I thought, I don't have my microphone here. So I got that all set up and I thought, okay, I'm ready to go again. So I went and recorded the whole program. And at the very end, I thought, do I have time to cover this? And so I went to see how long I had been recording, and the recording had shut off right after I had started it. So I don't know what is up with that, but I was mad enough to spit last night. Of course I didn't, because I would have spit on myself, and well, that's no fun. So anyway, let's hope that tonight goes better and I can get 2 videos out, I hope. And I may periodically just jump right over here to make sure that I'm still recording, and I am, so all is well. Okay, well, some of these should have been covered yesterday or the day before, so I apologize for that, but they're all very, very good things, and I think that we are going to go ahead, and I've got some new things here as well, so lots of stuff to cover tonight. And before we begin, let me just thank a few people. Barbara C. from Cincinnati, it rhymes, kind of like Heather H. from Houston, you know. Barbara B. from Cincinnati, she donated via coffee. Thank you, Barb. I appreciate that very, very much. You are a longtime listener, and you have, I know, supported me numerous other times as well, so I appreciate that. Also, picked up a couple new Patreon subscribers. Ralph Riley, now I know that name, he's a longtime listener. And Jennifer Manchester increased her pledge. She is also a longtime listener. Now, I got something in the snail mail, and it was a lovely note and, well, a card and note and donation from Nancy F. from Durham, North Carolina, and I know exactly where that is. I love North Carolina. I lived there for a number of years. Anyway, thank you so much, Nancy F. That was so very, very sweet of you. I appreciate it. And let's just jump right in. Well, maybe not jump, because, you know, my back's not good enough to be able to jump into anything, but let's just dive in. I don't know. All right, here we go. The first ridiculous news item of the day. And it truly is a ridiculous news item. Minneapolis police tell residents to obey criminals and be prepared to be robbed. Okay. Police say that Minneapolis residents should obey criminals and be prepared to be robbed amid a wave of violent crime in the city. Well, that's not so nice if you happen to live in Minneapolis. And if you do live in Minneapolis, let us know in the comments below. Tell us what you're experiencing, because it doesn't seem like things are very good there at all. At least not in the city. Minneapolis Police Department, MPD, which stands for Minneapolis Police Department, not multiple personality disorder. Just wanted to clarify that, you know, just in case. Told residents they should be prepared to hand over their phones, wallets, and purses to robbers. The MPD has reported a 46% increase in carjackings and a 36% increase in robberies compared to the same time last year, according to WCCO. Police in the city's 3rd precinct alone have received more than 100 reports of robberies and 20 reports of carjackings in just the last month. So this is not good for those of you that are living there. Officials now telling residents to be ready and willing to comply with the demands of criminals in an email sent to 3rd Precinct residents. Be prepared to give up your cell phone and purse, wallet, the police said in their email, a copy of which was obtained by Alpha News. The email said citizens should listen to criminals and do as they say. The message warned that some victims have been maced, dragged, assaulted, and some threatened with a gun. And I mean, that is good advice. I mean, better advice would be to, you know, fully fund the police. That would be the best advice, and for police to do what they're hired to do. But increasingly, police have their hands tied behind their backs. But it is always good to do whatever a criminal asks you to do. I remember when I lived in Louisiana, I used to go down to the pool all the time in my condo, and I think I used that pool more than anybody that lived there. Anyway, I was there, and there was a young man that used to go down, and he was in a wheelchair, and his friends would help him to get into the pool. And I remember asking him what happened, and he said, "Well, I was carjacked." And I said, "Well, wow, they shot you even though you gave them the car?" No, I didn't give them the car. And I said, "Well, did they threaten you?" "Yeah, they threatened to shoot me if I didn't give them the car." And I said, "So what'd you do?" "Well, they shot me, but they didn't get my car." I guess he drove off, but he's paralyzed now from the waist down. I don't know. Was it worth it? His car was probably insured, so was it worth it? I remember one time also when I lived in Charlotte, North Carolina, I was at a corner and I was going to get groceries. It was, I don't know, not late at night, but just twilight, I guess. And I saw a very strange man. I locked my doors immediately, and he tried to approach my car to get in, and I took off through a red light. Later that evening, I saw that on the news that he had carjacked someone at that very same light, and the person did not make it. So don't take chances with your life, really. So what if it's a red light and you're clear to go? Gun it. Also, don't leave your car window down on the passenger side, because they can reach in, and all women seem to put their purse right beside them when they drive. So that just invites all sorts of things. Yeah, living in American cities sure gave me an education that I never asked for, but had to get, I guess. So anyway, I don't know why I went into all that, but I did. Now let's go on and go to the next item. I feel like I've already covered this. I feel like deja vu. I guess because I already did, it's just nobody heard it. Well, the cats heard it. All right, now this is interesting as well. Of course, we know that there is a huge problem right now because people are not able to make their mortgages or their rent. Not everybody, but 40% of people in America are having trouble either making the rent or making their mortgage payments during this, whatever you call it, pandemic of stupidity. Anyway, 800,000 low-income households may have had electricity disconnected amid COVID. That's a lot of people having their electricity disconnected. And you got to think, this is the middle of summer. So if you're in the South at all, you're going to feel it. And I don't know about you, but up here, we've had a heat wave all summer. I mean, it's unusually warm for us. And it's been pretty much, well, not today. Today it cooled down a little bit, but usually it's been over 100 or right at the 100 mark. And, you shut off somebody's electricity. If they're elderly, their chances of being able to make it in high heat and humidity are slim to none. So this is very alarming if you ask me. Several months into the COVID-19 pandemic crisis, lower income families are struggling to pay their energy bills. That's a big concern during extreme events like summer heat waves, which can be deadly, especially for elderly people, young children, people of color, and the poor. We ran a nationally representative survey in May 2020 of U.S. low-income households to measure energy insecurity. We found that 13% of respondents had been unable to pay an energy bill during the prior month. 9% had received an electricity utility shutoff notice, and 4% had had their electric utility service disconnected. More than half of the states temporarily barred utilities from disconnecting customers who are unable to pay their bills due to financial hardship in the early months of the economic downturn. Still, extrapolating our findings to the national level suggests that approximately 800,000 low-income households may have recently had their electricity disconnected. And when it says 800,000 low-income households, that's 800,000 the household itself, which could be, there could be one person living there, there could be 5, there could be 8, whatever. So it's not just 800,000 at all. it's much greater than that, the people that have been affected. So, and the problem could get worse as the economy continues to struggle. As scholars who study energy policy, the environment, and energy justice, we believe energy assistance should be a central part of ongoing state and federal relief efforts. I would agree, because, that's great, if they're able to pay their rent, but if they're not able to pay their utilities, it'll get shut off, and this is not a good time to have it shut off. Neither is the winter for up in the northern states. Of course, the winter can be brutal, really brutal, and again, people that are elderly and whatnot are at risk. Anyway, these are the percentages, and the most people, this is the percentage of respondents who reported being unable to pay an energy bill from late April through late May of 2020 by demographic group, and FPL equals the federal poverty level. So those that are, let me see, I'm not sure how to read this, to tell you the truth. Oh, okay. So the people with the most, who are most at risk, according to this, is if a household member has a medical device. So if you have a household member with a medical device, chances are they're disabled or elderly, and they have a much greater chance of having their electricity shut off. And the next greatest percentage is households with children under 5. And if you are within 100% of the federal poverty level, then you still, even though you meet the poverty level, you still have about a 17% chance of having your electricity shut off. But if you're within 100 to 150, you have less of a chance, around 12%. And if you're 150 to 200% of the federal poverty level, you only have about a 7% chance of having it shut off. So the people that are most at risk are those that are either below the poverty level or within 100% of the poverty level, that have some sort of disability or have children under 5. These are the people that are the most energy insecure, which means that they don't have the security that they're going to be able to pay their electricity bill and be able to keep the utilities on, which is terrifying, absolutely terrifying. All right. And of course, that goes without saying. Energy insecurity affects well-being. Well, of course, and so do financial problems of any kind. It puts tremendous stress on people, and people are going through tremendous stress right now. And the depression rates are rising exponentially because people are looking around and saying, you know what, I don't think things are going to go back to normal. There's kids that have graduated from high school that can't go on to college because college isn't in. They can't get jobs because jobs are scarce. And what do? And, there's people that their jobs are gone. Some of the people, their jobs have been looted and burned to the ground. Other people, they're not considered essential. So I don't know, but things are not good right now. And I think we're all aware of that. I'm preaching to the choir here. So let's go on. And I'm going to leave this one for now because that could be a whole show in itself. All right. Yeah. Now, if this doesn't make you angry, then I don't know really what would, honestly. Red flags soar as Big Pharma will be exempt from COVID-19 vaccine liability claims. Now, this right here terrifies me. They know that this vaccine is going to be deadly or at least harmful to people. Well, the first clue should be that the trials are not going well. 80% of people develop serious side effects to this vaccine. And who knows what the long-term effects will be because it actually alters your DNA. Now, does that mean that if you're of childbearing years and you become pregnant, do you pass that altered RNA on to your child? I would assume so. But of course, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical doctor. So anyway, let's take a look at this. Last week, we warned readers to be cautious about new COVID-19 vaccines, highlighting how key parts of the clinical trials are being skipped, as Big Pharma will not be held accountable for adverse side effects for administering this experimental drugs. Now, that's not right. They're rushing this to market. It's not going through the normal avenues. They're rushing it to market. The test animals developed some very serious side effects. They don't know the long-term effects, but they're rushing it to market anyway. But what do they care? They're not going to be held responsible. So if you die or you get serious side effects that affect your health long-term, oh well, there's no repercussions whatsoever. So basically they want us to they want to scare the crap out of us so badly that we will put this poison in our bodies, not knowing what it'll do or what the long-term effects of it are or how it affects our offspring, if you're of that age. A senior executive from AstraZeneca, Britain's second largest drug maker, told Reuters that his company was just granted protection from all legal action if the company's vaccine led to damaging side effects. Well, isn't that special? Why should they get that consideration? Well, I'll tell you why. Because they know this vaccine is harmful. Otherwise, they would not be giving the Big Pharma blanket immunity. This is a unique situation where we as a company simply cannot take the risk if in 4 years the vaccine is showing side effects, said Rudd Dauber, a top executive at AstraZeneca. If in the contracts we have in place, we are asked for indemnification. For most countries, it is acceptable to take that risk on their shoulders because it is in their national interest, said Dauber, adding that Astra and regulators were making safety and tolerability a top priority. Really? You think so? Because I'm not so sure. I don't think that they would be rushing it to market so quickly without knowing the side effects. Do you know how long it takes for a drug of any kind to get FDA approval? It takes a very, very long time. Sometimes years and years. And yet they're rushing this to market. And the human trials have not gone well. But, I guess they just don't care about that. They want to inject us with poison over a virus that has a 99% chance of survival. Does this make sense to anyone? And they're giving them blanket immunity so that nobody can sue them. I don't think so. I know that it may come to the fact that I'm not able to get on an airplane or a train or a bus I don't need to take the bus because I have a car, but, there may be situations where I need to take a bus and won't be able to because I refuse to be vaccinated, but they don't know what this is going to do. They don't. They can say, oh, well, it's relatively safe. Yeah, that's what they say about normal vaccines. And ask all the children that have been rendered autistic. Ask them if the vaccines are safe. As for the U.S., well, when it comes to the legal framework around vaccines, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, already has a law called the Public Readiness and Emergency Preparedness PrEP Act, which provides immunity to vaccine companies if something goes wrong, with AstraZeneca and many U.S. big pharma companies rushing COVID-19 vaccines to market, with governments granting them immunity if the vaccine has side effects. All suggest corporate elites and the government regulators have very little faith in these drugs. Well, that's what I would assume, right? If you were head of a drug company and you absolutely were 100% positive that your drug was safe, why would you need all that stuff in place? It's because they know it's not, just like they know other vaccines are not. For more color on leading vaccines in development that produce severe side effects, read our latest piece called Moderna COVID-19 Vaccine Induce Adverse Reactions in More Than Half of Trial Participants. Maybe these rushed vaccines are more for optics, get consumers back into airplanes, hotels, resorts, and malls. The major red flag is how governments are allowing big pharma to rush experimental vaccines with no legal recourse if something goes terribly wrong. The other thing that I don't like is the fact that Trump is rolling out the military to administer these vaccines. I don't like that, and I'm just being honest. Yes, I like Trump. I think he's done a good job, but this makes me very, very nervous. And that's why I have always said, yes, I judge him on what he has done, and he's done a great job. But will I blindly trust? No, especially with putting anything in my body. No, I'm not going to blindly trust any man about what is safe and what isn't, unless it's been proven. And the fact that the military is rolling this out concerns me. It concerns me a great deal. Now, may end up that my concerns are unfounded, and at that time I will apologize. But at this moment, it makes me nervous. All right, well, let's go back, see what else we can get into. All right, let's look at this, because I do not remember hearing this, and I think that, this is from 2 days ago, and I haven't heard this previously, and I wonder why. Spotlight grows on mysterious suicide of Dr. Fauci's right-hand man at NIAID. Dr. Judy Mikovits says top scientist was suicided to silence him. Now, this is pretty major. I mean, really major. Top virologist Dr. Judy Mikovits is shedding some well-needed light on the mysterious death of top scientist Kuan-Tae Zhang, who was second in charge under Dr. Anthony Fauci at the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases at the time of his controversial death. Mikovits detailed on the Thomas Paine podcast that Zhang was 54, was poised to blow the whistle on falsified government research, fake clinical data, and widespread vaccine fraud that was killing Americans before his untimely demise. Details of the man's 2013 death have been covered up. Some say Zhang was found at his desk on a Sunday night at NIAID with a gunshot to the chest. Some say he jumped to his death from the top deck of the parking garage outside of the government facility. Dr. Mikovits told Payne that Zhang was suicided to silence him. Zhang had worked at the NIH for 27 years. Zhang was previously chief of the molecular virology section of the Laboratory of Molecular Biology, or Microbiology rather, according to the documents. And of course, Thomas Paine has a podcast on this very thing. And if you follow him, this is episode 34 of the Thomas Paine podcast. All right. So, yeah, that's pretty major if you ask me. And now that I've seen this, I have no doubt if he was about to blow the whistle on faked data. And what else was he going to be a whistleblower on? Let me see here. He was poised to blow the whistle on falsified government research, fake clinical data, and widespread vaccine fraud that was killing Americans. Now, who would not want him to let that out? Probably somebody that was making a lot of money from it. Now, who would that be? Maybe Dr. Fauci himself. Or maybe he had it done. I have no doubt in my mind that he's involved. No doubt whatsoever. All right, let's go back and let's tackle the next item. Yeah, this is just bizarre news right here. Bizarre. And we're hearing more and more bizarre stuff all the time. Burger King employee killed after woman complains about long drive-through line, Orange County deputies say. Apparently, I think this is the one that this was his first day on the job, or he was just learning his job. A young man is dead after a shooting at an Orange County Burger King, deputies said. The Orange County Sheriff's Office said the deputies responded to the Burger King at 7643 East Colonial Drive on Sunday night in reference to a shooting. They said that upon arrival, they found 22-year-old Desmond Armand Joshua in the parking lot with a gunshot wound. He was transported to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. 37-year-old Calvis Rodriguez Tormes had reportedly been arrested on charges of first-degree murder with a firearm, destruction of evidence, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Well, he looks like a friendly guy, doesn't he? Not so much. An arrest affidavit from the Orange County Sheriff's Office said the victim was working in the drive-through line at the Burger King prior to the shooting. The line was particularly long when one customer became irate and threatened to bring her man to the restaurant. Joshua reportedly then refunded the woman's order and told her to leave. However, she came back to the restaurant in another vehicle which was being driven by a man. The person demanded a fight with Joshua and put him in a headlock and began to choke him. The fight was broken up, but the man then armed himself. Shortly after, gunfire was heard and Joshua fell to the ground in the parking lot. The arrest affidavit goes on to say that the man who fought and shot Joshua was identified as Rodriguez Tormes. The suspect arrest for first-degree murder with a firearm, destruction of evidence, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Burger King released a statement on the death. We are deeply saddened to hear of the tragic incident that took place at Burger King on 7643 East Colonial Drive and the passing of a team member, Desmond Joshua. At Burger King, the safety of our team members and guests is our top priority. The franchise who owns and operates the restaurant is fully cooperating with authorities on this matter. Any questions should be directed to local authorities. The Burger King McCumber Foundation exists to offer support to team members and their loved ones during incomprehensible times such as this. Our deepest condolences go out to Desmond's family and friends during this difficult time. Now, that is so sad. Now, I had heard as well that he was new on the job there. Now, I'm not sure if it was this one or perhaps another one, but I do believe this guy was new. And can you imagine, he's 22 years old, he has the rest of his life ahead of him, he's working at, fast food is not an easy job. I don't know if you've ever had to work fast food. I did growing up as for, spending money and so forth, but it's a hard job. And to lose your life over that, that's tragic. It's absolutely tragic. So anyway, human life is getting to be very, very, very cheap these days, and it's awful. It's disgusting. All right, now this is something else that's causing me a great deal of concern. So Donald Trump met with Bill Gates about this whole TikTok thing, and he asked Bill Gates if he would consider buying TikTok, and apparently he's going to. So Donald Trump backs down from TikTok ban and allows Microsoft 45 days to negotiate purchase. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't feel much better about Bill Gates owning my information than I do the Chinese. I'm just saying. Now, I don't belong to TikTok. I don't have that app at all, and I don't know if I ever will. But I don't know how Bill Gates is an improvement over the Chinese. Really, I don't trust him any more than I do the Chinese. And so why would Donald Trump ask Bill Gates to buy TikTok? Why? I'm telling you, there's something more to this, and it's making me very uncomfortable. It really is. And okay, maybe you say, well, you're being ridiculous. It's better for him to own it because he's, American and it'll be in American hands. Yeah, right. Well, I just don't trust Bill Gates. Hey. But perhaps President Trump does. Or perhaps there's stuff that we don't know about this. Anyway, President Donald Trump on Sunday backed down on his plan to ban the popular short video app TikTok, allowing Microsoft 45 days to negotiate a purchase on the platform. As Breitbart News reported, Trump said Friday night on Air Force One he was prepared to ban TikTok, currently owned by Chinese technology company ByteDance, something he has floated before. Now, the other thing is, was Bill Gates already thinking about purchasing TikTok, and Trump said he was going to ban it to lower the stock and lower the price that Bill Gates would have to pay to obtain it? Because if they banned the United States, that's a whole, well, that's what, 360 million people? That's a lot. It's a lot. So, yeah, what do you think that would have done to TikTok stock? Yeah, would have plunged. I haven't checked. I want to check, though. I'm going to check. If their stock plunged, and that would make it easier for Bill Gates to come in and say, look, you know what? If I don't buy it, Trump's going to ban it, and, it won't be worth anything. So you better sell it to me. I'm just wondering if they're putting the screws to China this way. I don't know. I don't know what's happening, and I'm not in a position to state that is exactly what happened, but it would be logical, right? It would be logical that that's what happened, that Bill Gates was thinking in his mind, you know what, I think I'd like to buy TikTok, but, they're asking too much. And Donald Trump says, well, we're gonna ban TikTok. And all of a sudden, the price goes exponentially down, and Bill Gates is able to pick it up cheaper. I don't know. Sounds reasonable to me. All right. President, as Breitbart News reported, we already read that. And President Donald Trump on Tuesday confirmed that his administration is looking at banning Chinese-owned social media app TikTok. Chinese ownership raises concerns. The Chinese government has access to sensitive user data. Yes, and I would feel so much better with Bill Gates having it. Yes, because he's just, he's right up there. Like, he's just full of virtue and full of other stuff, too. None of it is virtue. Trump also said he did not support the idea of an American company purchasing the app, preferring to ban it outright. But Microsoft appears to have softened Trump's opposition, announcing Sunday it would continue talks to acquire the app from ByteDance, which could conclude by September 15th, Reuters reported. Trump agreed to give Microsoft 45 days to cut a deal. Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella spoke with Trump about the possible lead, according to the company, that would make the app safer to use in the United States. Microsoft appreciates the U.S. government and President Trump's personal involvement as it continues to develop strong security protections for the country. Microsoft said in their statement, Trump's decision was welcomed by Senator Lindsey Graham as a win-win for the administration. And this is Lindsey Graham, a positive development in the TikTok negotiations. Thank you, President Trump, for protecting American consumers from the Chinese Communist Party and bringing jobs back to the U.S. A win-win in the making. Now, something else just kind of pops into my head. It popped right into my head right there. You know how Q used to always say, tick-tock, tick-tock. I wonder, that things often had double meanings, triple meanings, quadruple meanings. Could this have been something that's been in the works that they've known about? I don't know, but it seems interesting to me. All right. And TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, has furiously worked against a possible ban in recent weeks, enlisting more than 35 lobbyists to advocate for them in Washington, D.C., and even hiring former Disney executive Kevin Mayer as their CEO in an effort to alleviate concerns about their company. But the Chinese ownership of the app continues to raise concerns in other major countries. India banned TikTok in late June, and Japan has also signaled interest in banning it. So I'm just wondering if some of these countries that are not real friendly towards China, if they're getting together to ban this so that it can be picked up by the Americans, so, and presumably made safer. I don't know. But this story certainly bears, staying in touch with, because there's something going on here that I'm not quite sure What is happening? Maybe nothing, but there's few oddities there, if you ask me. All right, well, let's go back and let's look at, yes, here's another odd piece of news. Odd, I say. Company creates disinfectant spritzing drones to kill coronavirus in stadiums. What could go wrong? Hopefully they'll be dousing these stadiums in disinfectant while nobody is there. We all want sports to come back. Apparently, the folks at Syracuse, New York-based startup Eaglehawk really want sports to come back. Eaglehawk, a tech company specializing in drones, created a drone that sprays disinfectant across large indoor spaces like sports arenas to kill the coronavirus. The company is marketing its new drones to college, major league, and minor league sports facilities and getting strong interest, CEO Patrick Walsh told Syracuse.com. So according to Eaglehawk's website, it would send a team to the venue to operate the drones and work closely with the facility staff. We only use disinfectant chemicals approved by the FDA and New York DEC for effectiveness against the SARS-CoV-2 virus, and our process places the highest priority on safety of personnel and protection of facility equipment, the website says. Disinfecting surfaces inside a stadium before an event would not necessarily address the potential problem of a COVID-19 carrier with or without symptoms entering the building. However, no, we'll all need the vaccine for that, right? That's what they're going to say. They're going to say, oh, we have to take the vaccine or we're not, you can't go to sporting events and you can't do this and you can't go to movie theaters and you can't get on the planes, can't get on the trains, can't get on the buses, can't go to work. Very troubling. Helicopters again. Weird. I never hear helicopters, and now the last few months, that's all I hear at night. All right, let's go back now, and yeah, here's another weird one, like the Burger King one, but a little weirder. Well, yeah, man shoots at store clerk over mask requirement, then fires on 7 police officers with an AK-47. A Pennsylvania man was shot by police and arrested after shooting at a store clerk who tried to force him to wear a face mask and then opening fire with an AK-47 on 7 police officers as they were trying to arrest him the next day. Lehigh Valley Live reported. Adam Zaborowski, 35, faces 22 charges, including attempted homicide, attempted first-degree murder of a police officer, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, and illegal gun possession, despite a previous aggravated assault conviction. On Friday morning, Zaborowski reportedly refused to wear a face mask in Cigars International. Zaborowski allegedly stole 2 cigars after the clerk insisted on the mask and left the store. When the clerk followed him outside, Zaborowski shot twice at the clerk with a handgun. Saturday night, police went to Zaborowski's home. They were waiting outside the home with an arrest warrant when Zaborowski got in his truck and drove off. When police pursued and stopped him, he got out and opened fire on police with an AK-47. Police shot him twice in the leg and buttocks. Ow. Zaborowski is now in the hospital and will be transferred to Lehigh County Prison when he is healed enough to move. His lawyer, John Waldron, claims that stress from personal situations and the pandemic led to Zaborowski's violent and potentially deadly outbursts. So, there you go. And apparently, it says Waldron said he learned that Zaborowski lost his job due to the COVID-19 pandemic. He also recently lost custody of his child. These factors don't justify his behavior, but do lend insight into his motives, Waldron said. He just wasn't dealing well with the loss of his job, the loss of his child, just not handling the pandemic well, Waldron said. I think he was getting stretched too tight. It doesn't excuse his conduct, Lehigh County District Attorney James Martin said. Waldron and Martin agree that Zaborowski is lucky to be alive after getting into a fight with police officers who were shooting to kill. They're not shooting at your foot, Waldron told Lehigh Valley Live. They're not shooting at your buttocks. It's kill or be killed. So the fact that he got shot twice with non-life-threatening injuries when he had an AK-47 and another handgun, Adam is very fortunate he ended up the way he did. So it doesn't sound like anyone was, well, he was injured, and I think it said that perhaps, I'm not sure if anyone else was injured or not. I don't think it mentions that. So anyway, just very bizarre. People are losing it. They're really losing it. And, you know, the guy goes in, he's having a rough time. He's lost his job. He just lost his child. And he goes in to get a couple cigars. They tell him, you know, can't be in here without a mask. He loses it. He just loses it. And not excusing it, but people are really getting stretched to their limits. All right, and yeah, let's look at this. Let's look at this. Okay, video, Bill Gates, you don't have a choice. Normalcy only returns when we largely vaccinate the entire population. Right from the horse's mouth, or whatever he is. In a 2015 speech, Bill Gates warned that the greatest risk to humanity was not nuclear war, but an infectious virus that could threaten the lives of millions of people. That speech has resurfaced the start of the coronavirus pandemic with 25 million new views on YouTube, but not in the way that Mr. Gates probably intended. Anti-vaccinators, members of the group QAnon, and right-wing pundits have instead seized on the video as evidence that one of the world's richest men planned to use a pandemic to wrest control of the global health system. Okay, well, this is not a conspiracy theory, and it's not just QAnon and right-wing pundits that believe this way. I think most people that are thinking people feel a little bit uncomfortable with all of this. Anyway, Gates told the Financial Times, you don't have a choice. Normalcy only returns when we largely vaccinate the entire population. Okay, and Bill Gates says, getting vaxxed is not your choice. Oh, but, you know, you can, you know, all this, your body, your choice, right? That's what they want to shove down our throats all the time. You know, my body, my choice. And that's, you know, that's how they excuse abortion and all that. My body, my choice. But getting vaccinated is not your choice. Apparently, in that case, it's not your body, your choice. It's your body, their choice.
In my lifetime, this will be the greatest economic hit. But you don't have a choice. People act like you have a choice. People don't feel like going to the stadium when they might get infected. You know, it's not the government who's saying, okay, just ignore this disease. And, you know, people are deeply affected by seeing these deaths, by knowing they could be part of the transmission chain, and, you know, old people, their parents, their grandparents could be affected by this. And so you don't get to say, ignore what's going on here. There will be the ability, particularly in rich countries, to open up if things are done well over the next few months. But for the world at large, normalcy only returns when we've largely vaccinated the entire global population.
Seems to make him happy. So, yeah, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has pledged millions of dollars to companies developing potential novel coronavirus vaccines. Of course, we know that. In an interview on April 9th on CNBC, Gates spoke theoretically about how many people might experience side effects from a yet-to-be-developed coronavirus vaccine. He also, the work his foundation is doing, they've missed a whole sentence there somewhere. CNBC posted the clip on YouTube. It has been viewed more than 74,000 times. Gate mentions needing about 7 billion doses worldwide and says the efficacy in vaccines in older people is always a huge challenge. It turns out the flu vaccine isn't that effective in elderly people. Most of the benefits come from younger people not spreading it because they're vaccinated, and that benefits on a community basis the elderly. Here, we clearly need a vaccine that works in the upper age range because they're the most at risk of that, and doing that so that you amp it up so it works in older people and yet you don't have side effects. If we have 1 in 10,000 side effects, that's way more, 700,000 people who will suffer from that. So really understanding the safety at a giant scale across all age ranges, pregnant, male, female, undernourished, existing comorbidities, it's very, very hard in that actual decision of, okay, let's go and give this vaccine to the entire world. Governments will have to be involved because there will be some risk and indemnification needed before that can be decided on. You can watch the moment at, okay, Gates is a leading voice on the push for vaccination for vaccine for COVID-19, and he has committed more than $300 million to novel coronavirus response efforts. His stance, however, has made him a target of anti-vaccine campaigners. Gee, can't imagine why. All right, well, let's go back now. Let's make sure that I am still recording, and I am. Woohoo! All right, we've been going 46 minutes, so it is 10:12 if you're on medication, and if you're not, well, perhaps you should be. All right, let's look at this because this is a little bit disconcerting as well. This from the Federalist. Nearly half of young Americans say it's okay to fire people who support Trump. Wow. The Cato Institute just released a new report showing that 62% of Americans are inclined to self-censor when they say politically because others might find them offensive. Even moderate leftists report they feel increased fear of offending the offendable, while only the most staunch liberals, as Cato described them, feel free to speak their minds. The very conservative have been pushed deepest in the closet. They are most likely to refrain from saying what they think politically at nearly twice the rate of the very liberal. Buried deeper in the report, however, is a stunning data point that might be one of the most troubling current cultural indicators. 44% of Americans younger than age 30 believe a company is correct in firing an executive because he or she personally donated to President Trump's re-election campaign. The companion finding was also disturbing. 27% of people under 30 said they were fine with an executive being fired because he or she donated to the Joe Biden campaign. That means that of Americans under 30 years old, 73% think it would be wrong to fire an executive from a company for donating to the Biden campaign, while only 56% believe it would be wrong to do so for a Trump campaign. While this problem is most pronounced among those under 30, it isn't exclusive to young people. Across all age ranges, 78% say it would be wrong to fire an executive for making a personal donation to Biden, while only 69% believe it's wrong to fire one simply for being a Trump donor. That means a remarkably high number of fellow citizens believe it's virtuous to punish you for your personal political beliefs, even if you express them merely through one private political donation with the loss of your family's livelihood. People throw the word fascist around today much too carelessly for it to be useful. If that word can be applied to an everyday person, however, someone who believes you should lose your job based on who you vote for is a pretty sturdy working definition. Of course, this has less to do with the names of the 2020 candidates and more to do with how an alarming number of Americans today seem to know precious little about what it means to live in a representative democracy. This brings us to the second most disturbing revelation of this report, the declining cognitive and logical rigor of today's youth. Would these findings have been any different if the question had been, would you support firing a business executive solely for holding political beliefs you disagree with? There is one right answer among decent people. Yes, and it depends are unacceptable. But a disturbingly high number of Americans think such a firing would be perfectly fine when triggered by specific political names. To consider just how troubling this turn is, let's improve the polling question to see if it sounds any better. Would you support an employer without any threat of job loss trying to reason with and persuade by way of facts and data why executives should vote for one candidate over another? It's scary to think what the polling numbers for this might be. It was not all that long ago that the liberal clarion value was misattributed Voltairean principle. I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. Today, that seems to have been replaced with the brutally authoritarian, I disagree with what you believe, and I will make sure you lose your livelihood because I went digging and found out you made a private campaign contribution to someone I think is evil. If, God forbid, the autopsy of the American experiment is ever written, this growing expectation that political submission be a condition of one's employment will certainly be noted as a significant stage in its demise. It demonstrates that the world's most hopeful self-government is moving in a very bad direction, and that should profoundly bother us all. And it does, and I think probably it bothers you too. Imagine, a high majority of people, of young people, think that if you're an executive or you're a manager or whatever, that you should be fired if you vote for Trump or support him in any way. That is a little bit alarming. No, it's a lot alarming, to tell you the truth. I don't know how we got here, but here we are. All right. Now, let me see here. I think what we're going to do here, because I've got more, I've always got more, I'm going to stop here for now, and I will be back with a second video. I do want to get this uploading so you will have something to view tonight, and then I can do a second video, and that will probably be available much later tonight by the time it processes. It takes forever for them to process this stuff. So, all right. Well, that's it for this video, and I thank you guys so much for listening. I appreciate you guys more than I could ever possibly convey to you. I really do. I've got some really high quality people, top shelf people that listen to this show. Now, I don't know what I ever did to deserve you all, but thank you. I appreciate you listening. I know you have a choice of who to listen to, so I take it personally, and I find that very humbling and flattering as well. So thank you guys so much. You stay safe, stay well, stay blessed, and I'll see you back here in a little bit. Okay. Good night.